Hey everyone, so this is going to be a tutorial for a wired ribbon rosette, and I kind of stumbled upon this. I'm sure it's already been created, but it's something I happened to learn by myself. I was attempting to make lollipop flowers out of wired ribbon and it didn't work out too well, and I ended up with these really gorgeous rosettes, and I love the size that these turn out to be. Because compared to like my lollipop flowers, these little rosettes will fit perfect on most craft projects. So that's what I'm going to show you how to make. So the materials that you will need is some wired ribbon. And wired ribbon just means ribbon that has a wire on each side. And you can either use 2.5 inch, which is what this is, or you can use 1.5 inch. Now, two of the flowers I have, this would be an example of a 2.5 inch ribbon, and this would be an example of a 1.5 inch ribbon. And basically what the difference is the height of what the roses are. So, you will also need a pair of scissors, a hot glue gun, some feathers or leaves of your choice. You will also need, and this is optional, some centerpieces for the flowers. Now these are little plastic cabochons. I also sometimes just squirt some glitter glue in the center of it, or sometimes I even just leave them plain. If I make a flower and it looks like perfect the way it is, then sometimes I'll just leave it plain. You'll also need a needle and thread and a cardboard disc. And the discs are just ones that I cut out of recycled cardboard. So the first thing you want to do is you want to grab your wired ribbon, and you want to cut the ribbon about 12 to 14 inches. I usually just guesstimate. I don't bother measuring. And then each section that you cut, you will get, let me see if I can just roll the camera up for you. Whoops. Each section that you cut to make a rosette, you'll get 2 rosettes out of this section, because what you're going to want to do next is cut down the very center. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just try and get it as straight as you can. And this ribbon I got at the Dollar Tree, and it works perfectly. Okay, so you've got, I just dropped one section on the ground. You've got your 2 sections right here, and you only need 1 section to do your rosette. So, like I said, you're going to get 2 rosettes out of one 12 to 14 inch piece of ribbon. Okay, so what you want to do next is you want to thread your needle and tie a knot at the end of the thread. And you're going to take your wired ribbon piece and you're going to see there's one side with the pattern on it, one side without the pattern, and you're going to fold over like 1/4 inch like this onto the non-pattern side. So I'll show that to you again. You got the pattern side, you're going to take just the very edge of it and fold it over. So you've got this little rim here. And then you want to take your needle and you want to do a running stitch all the way down this strip of ribbon. And you, as you go, you just fold it over and continue sewing. So I'm going to start it like this. I'm just going to make this thread really long so that I don't have to keep threading it. Of course I'm getting it tangled up. Okay. So there is a fast way to do this. Once you start making a lot of things, then making a lot of these, you'll get pretty fast at doing the running stitch. And you just want to keep going. See how I'm folding this flap over as I go? And the reason why you do this is because with these wired ribbons, a lot of the times, most of the time, they're not made from fabric. I do have some ribbon. Yeah, here's a strip of it. Like this ribbon has fabric on one side, but then it has this loose, I'm not sure what it is. But that material has a tendency to fray. So by folding the little 1/4 of an inch over as you do the running stitch on the side, it'll just help ensure that when you're pulling the thread through, that the whole ribbon doesn't, all the fibers just don't start unraveling on you. And you want to be doing the running stitch on the side that you cut, where you cut. You do not want to be doing the running stitch on the wired side, because this is going to help give the definition to the rosette. Make it look more rosy, like, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to continue with my running stitch, and like I said, you want to do this till you get to the very end. And the flap doesn't have to be perfect as you're folding it over. You just want to make sure you get close to 1/4 of an inch. So I have a ribbon that I've already sewed completely through, sewed the running stitch completely through. And here's what it looks like. I suppose I shouldn't have done it with a white ribbon. The needle's on the end. I have not tied it off yet. You don't want to tie it off. But basically I've just taken the running stitch and gone all the way down the length. And like I said, you do not want to do the length on the wire, the side with the wire through it. You want to do it on this side. So once you have it sewn all the way through, then you want to start pulling it down, or scrunching it up. You want to start pulling the thread from the ribbon so that you're getting this crumpled mess at the end. And just pull it as tight as you can. And then the next part, you just have to play with it a little bit to get it to look the way you want. You take the very end where you had started the running stitch, and you just fold it, and you just want to Oops, I've got it backwards. That's not good. Make sure when you're starting to roll this up to make the rosette that you've got the pattern. This one's white, so it's hard to see. But like, see this red fabric? This is what I would consider the pattern. You want this to be on the inside of the layers, not on the outside. So you just want to start twisting it around, and you're going to have to pull some of the thread back in the ribbon as you go around to get the shape of the rose that you want. It's just going to take some fussing with to get it to work the way you want it to work, from making any sense at all. Alright, so I don't want to let go of it, but essentially that's what the rosette's going to look like. And I should have used a different color ribbon to show you this. I have a feeling it's going to be hard for you to see. But once you have the ribbon rolled to your liking so that it starts to look like the rosette that you want it to look like, then you want to take your thread and needle, and you haven't tied this off, you haven't cut it yet. You don't want to do that, because you want to take it as it's still attached and just shove it through all of the layers of the rosette. Pull it through. And then you're going to have this loop here. You put the needle through the loop and then pull it to knot it. Then you can cut off your needle and thread, the excess here. So this is just a temporary thing. It's just to hold it until you've gotten the feathers and stuff in place. So you want to set the little rosette aside so that you can start on the embellishments. And you want to grab your disc and grab your feathers or your leaves. You could also use pearl strings. That would work. Got some white feathers here. And you just want to start, get your hot glue gun. Put a dab of glue on there, attach your leaf or your feather. And you just want to start layering it. Like so. I'm not sticking leaves on this particular flower, but if I was going to stick a leaf on, this is when I would do it. I'd usually put the leaves on first and then put the feathers on, so that you can kind of see the leaf through the feather. Alright. So once you've gotten your feathers on, just let it sit for a second to cool down. And then you want to, if you can still imagine the whole cardboard disc, you kind of want to just do a glob over those feather ends, over everything, until it completely covers the cardboard disc. Then you want to take your rosette and shove it on there. Now, if you want to add a centerpiece, you can certainly add a centerpiece. I'm going to add this little pink cabochon here. Dab of glue in the middle. Pop the cabochon on there. Pull off the glue strings. And voila! There's your finished flower. Now let me see if I can just sew through this ribbon that I started real quick so that I can show you again. I just want to make sure it's clear for you guys. Okay, so folding that 1/4 inch over. Got all the hot glue stuck to my fingers. Kind of the hazard of using a really long thread so that you can do multiple flowers is that you get it caught on everything. So sometimes it's easier to just use a shorter thread. But I do so many of these that it's easier for me to do a really long thread. Next video I will show you how to thread a needle the easy way, instead of trying to look through the little tiny hole and shove the thread through the little tiny hole. There is a way that is much easier. Alright. So I've gotten the running stitch all the way through the ribbon, and like I said, you want to do the running stitch on the opposite side of the wired side. And then once you have the running stitch all the way through, you want to pull it and be really careful, because if you snap the thread, then you're going to have to start all over again. So you have this jumbled up mess at the end. And then you start at the end that you started with on the thread with the running stitch. And just start winding it around. This one's going to give me some difficulties. Yeah, this one's gonna give me some, I'm gonna have to fuss with it a bit. It's just the type of wired edge that this particular ribbon has. Wired ribbon that looks like this, where you can barely see the wired edge right there, or that looks like this, always works best. But the ribbon, the wired edge that looks like this, tends to be harder to work with. Okay, but you get the gist of the idea. And you just have to work it around till you get a rosette that you like. Okay. Well, thanks for watching.